This podcast is part of the Planet Broadcasting Network.
Visit planetbroadcasting.com for more podcasts from our great mates.
The following episode of TOFOP is rated MA. It may contain Batman references, time travel references, sexual references, lost trains of thought, and mild coarse language. TOFOP advises that the program is not suitable for anyone under the age of 15 or anyone who enjoys succinct, coherent conversation that might actually have a point. Minors must be accompanied by a parent, guardian, or priest. This is John Deek speaking.
Everyone relax. This is TOFOP.
Oh,
I'm Charlie Clausen.
I'm Wil Anderson. Is this over already? What happened?
I had a little freak out mid-sentence. Now what's she barking at?
What I love is that we just recorded a thing that people may or may not hear, but Ramona was barking the whole way through because I thought that there was a water bottle. Well, normally she'll bark if there's a bottle and she wants the bottle, but now you've put the bottle away and she's
looking at something else.
she's
Hang
still-
on. You commentate. I'll find what
Okay.
it is and move it.
Hello, I'm Wil Anderson. Charlie and I are pre-recording. Well, we always pre-record this show, I guess. I guess it is, Charlie. Just maybe put that in the sink as well, and she can just maybe forget about it. Ramona, come here. Come on. Okay. Anyway, so sometimes...
That was it. It was the cup.
Okay, the cup.
It was driving her nuts.
That's all right. So we're at my place again.
Yeah.
Second record in a row in the same place.
I'm liking this.
I mean, it is...
This is a good idea. This is why you should subscribe to the Patreon, because then I can afford to fly down and do this in the same room.
I mean, that would be great, actually.
Yeah.
It'd be great for us. I think that, it's probably better for the episodes as well.
100%.
When we're in the same place. And certainly...
And also great for my frequent flyer points. So
and much more enjoyable for the dogs.
yes.
So, because I tend to lock them out when we're doing it in Skype, but they get free reign.
Well, free reign and free back rubs.
That's true. They understand that they don't actually mind when the podcast is happening because chances are there's an extra person that they can sit on the lap of and get back rubs during it. But have you noticed, Charlie?
What?
That despite the fact that both Ramona and Winnie have been in the podcast, no farts.
Oh,
Did you notice that last time?
I believe we've talked about this before. You changed your diet.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
And what I'm saying is, Charlie, I've stuck with it and it's bloody worked.
I haven't noticed.
If you want your dog to not fart anymore, I believe that I have stumbled upon the magic method.
Oh, what
I
is
feel
it?
like I could sell. Well, I'm not just going to give it away for free on a podcast.
Well, you're
Charlie.
going to market it like Paul Newman's like
you
soup and
think?
stuff. Wil Anderson's,
Will
dog
Anderson's
food.
fart-free dog food.
Fart-free dog food.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be a little cartoon of me on the front.
Yeah, Fosdyke can do that.
Fosdyke can do the cartoon, and I'll be saying, I may not know much about farts, but I know what I like. And it's this dog food.
The art of no fart.
Yeah. You remember that band, The Art of Fighting?
Yeah.
The Art of Fighting. That'll be wrapped.
So the thing about your recipe, though, isn't it all like do you reckon you could mass produce it, or is it like about going to like an organic market and getting like only the finest produce?
Yeah, but that's your market, Charlie. Your market isn't the people who... Here's what I'm going to say
People
to people
behind the
out there.
quinoa curtain.
If you want to buy the cheapest dog food and the cheapest cat food,
Yeah.
then you are never going to have a fart-free dog. If your dog is a farter. I imagine there are some dogs that are not farters. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's just assume that your dog...
Is a farter.
But that cheap food, much
Yeah.
like human beings when you eat that cheap
McDonald's.
food, it's going to go straight through you.
Yeah.
So yes, it's a gourmet, but that's where your market is, mate. That's where your
Yeah.
margin is.
Is it like, it's kind of like an upmarket, like not Blue Apron. Is it Blue Apron that they do
It's
these
Blue Apron
ingredients?
for dogs.
Dogs. There you go.
Blue Apron, but for dogs.
Yeah.
This is actually the crazy way that Silicon Valley works, that we could walk into some meeting with some fucking app developer and
Yeah.
he'd be like, what is your app? What's your idea? And we would go, it's Blue Apron,
But for dogs. I think that is definitely something that you could see, because you're marketing to someone who lives in a suburb or lives in a neighborhood where they don't necessarily have a job,
Yeah.
but they're definitely too busy to buy ingredients for dog food. But they want to give their dog the best kind of meal they can have. So if you can just deliver it so I can feel like I'm part of the process.
Yeah, exactly.
The exact measurements.
It is literally for the arty-farty set.
Yes.
And these are the sort of
Ironically.
people who are living in these small apartments. You know, like they're going to get trapped in with the odors, you know, more often. This is the inner city living. This is absolutely my target market.
Yeah.
I'm not targeting somebody who's got a backyard where the dog can go and fart as they please. I'm targeting someone who's, you know, trapped in their, you know, groovy
I think this is a
apartment.
really good idea. I'm
Yeah.
thinking about it because my brother has 2 dogs as well. And he does the same thing as you. He makes their special, like, you know, he'll do a big cook up. But if it could deliver to him the ingredients, because I imagine it's stuff he wouldn't buy for himself ordinarily.
Well, you know what the thing is too? It's one of those things where I always do a specific shop because I know the certain amount of ingredients I want, because you can't cook up too much in advance. I suppose you could freeze it and like blah blah blah, but they like it fresh. I don't want to be freezing it and reheating it and this sort of nonsense, Charlie.
Yeah.
And that's not where it's at its best, right?
But the thing is, all right, sorry, before
Okay.
you're jumping ahead
No,
to
go.
this billion-dollar business plan,
Please.
but you have not tested it. You've only tested it on 2 dogs. So how do you know that this is the best ingredients? You'd have to get like a control. What do they call it? A control, where you'd have to have a few different breeds of dogs.
What you're saying, Charlie, is that I would have a business which also meant I could get more dogs and I could have a variety of dogs. Like, can you imagine the office?
Yes.
Like,
It'd be amazing.
yeah.
It'd be-
And, I mean, I'm against animal testing, but if you're only testing more delicious ways to feed them, then I think everyone could be in favor of that sort of animal testing. So you have this cool office. It's the equivalent of Google, but for animals.
Yeah.
So instead of like the bean bags or what, well, you might still have bean bags for them to sleep in and those sort of things. But it's just this like awesome dog park,
And the best
but
bit-
also a great place to work.
But what we'd do, because I imagine do you like the way I'm suddenly your 50% business partner?
Sidles in on my $1 billion idea.
Actually, it's 70-30, Will. I'm an ideas man. It'd be awesome because we'd be doing different flavors and ingredients
Yeah.
like each time. And
Would
so
we?
Yes, we would. I'm 50-50, 70-30. We'd need to do the split this way. It's the only way it's going to work. I'm the ideas man. Listen to me. I've got an idea for you.
Okay.
We team up with an animal shelter because every time we don't want to use the same dogs for the same like recipes. So we come up with a new recipe. We go to the animal shelter. They send us 13 dogs, and then we use the profits from it to get those dogs home. So it's a good news story. We're making heaps of money exploiting people's sympathies for sheltered animals.
I love it though, because this is the thing, the sheltered animals, there's a lot of animals out there that need that love and attention, right?
And also need marketing budgets.
Right, absolutely. But also you're saving lives. So that's some goodwill for your company already. You're giving back to the community. You're testing it on the animals. But also, I guarantee you that if you could sell as a package, like for example, we've tested this food specifically for dogs like this, but we know that it works on Randy over here. Because I don't know. why
Randy? That's the first
the
dog name?
That's the name the dog came with from the pound.
Randy.
Because he used to hump everything.
Yeah.
But we've solved that with our balanced diet that we're giving Randy.
Now he doesn't get one erection.
So you can actually send out to these like hipsters
Yeah.
a year's supply of food, say for example, and a Randy.
Yeah.
You get Randy and the foods, you know this is the diet that Randy enjoys.
That's a great
Randy's going to
idea.
behave well on this. So suddenly you're not only taking those disadvantaged dogs, giving them a better life, but also putting them into a situation where you know that they are going to be well cared for.
So are we saying to people, customers, if you adopt one of our tester dogs, he's done, you know, so they've been there through the round of testing. Now we want to find them a home. We're saying if you take one of those dogs, we will give you like a certain amount of free food.
Yep.
Because that's a goodwill. It doesn't really cost us too much. Nothing
No,
on the bottom
exactly.
line. I need to protect my 80-20 split. So.
We're getting free dog testing
Yes.
with these animals, and in return we find them a home. And,
Yeah.
you know, to make sure they get a really good home.
Yeah, we give
because
free
they've
dog
been like
food.
we want them to have the best life ever. So we're going to find maybe we have a competition every year, like
Yeah.
Willy Wonka style,
Yeah.
where people can sort of like apply or whatever to actually rehome, because these dogs would become, they'd be on our website,
Yeah.
they become the stars, you know, meet Randy
on the podcast.
yeah, definitely on the podcast, which we would still record.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I think that actually would
I
be.
actually think it's a good idea.
Can you imagine like what a fun office to work in? Like that would be the spirit of it.
Would it be?
Oh, are you talking about the fact that there'd be
A lot of shit everywhere.
Yeah,
Actually, you know what? I'm literally imagining an office with dogs just walking around and sitting at desks and stuff like that. It's a couple,
Playing poker.
couple in the boardroom.
playing billiards.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there would be a dog area and the office would be run like a normal office. For some reason, I just thought that would
Well,
you know
couldn't
what,
put,
to make it
you
different.
couldn't put all the dogs in at the one time.
Let's say we do.
On Friday afternoons.
Yeah.
Friday afternoons after 12, all the dogs mingle.
Or some with behavioural problems.
They all get to go.
Fine. Yeah. Bring your kids. Yeah, that's when we get sued. Is it's bring your kid to work day, and we coincides with Friday.
I think that would be. I mean, chances are, if we've thought of it now, there probably is a business that's already doing something
You
similar.
reckon that specific? Makes a lot of sense to me, and I think it's actually there's a good market for it.
I'm going to Google Blue Apron for
dogs. Yeah,
and see what I get.
Yeah.
In that regard, and see if there's something that comes up. But yes, I certainly think it's the sort of thing that you start as a small business, but you get some seed funding or whatever, and you turn it into like a...
Oh, I hear what you're saying. Seed funding. We get birds.
Yeah.
We're rehoming birds.
Yes, you can be in charge of the bird division. We run the company together, but I'm in charge of the dogs and Charlie's in charge of the birds.
You just hear screeching and me yelling and swearing. Every time I come to see you, I'm just covered in scratches. There's like little feathers on my head. Well, we have to change this. You're going to take the birds for a week. I can't stand it.
All right, here we go. Here we go. All right.
Oh, does it exist?
Here's the headline on
Oh no.
Medium. Blue Apron for dogs? Question mark. These
Sounds like a TOFOP idea.
Imagine if that's what it said.
Yeah.
Imagine if I started reading it and it was like, sounds like something those guys on TOFOP would come up with. But it's not that stupid. Blue Apron for dogs? Question mark. These 6 fresh pet food services
There's 6 of them. Fuck, here I was thinking. Well,
make it easier to feed your pet homemade food every day. All right.
So that's too early to float on the stock exchange.
Well, I still think there are some technical advantages that we have in the market, which is ours is built like on the thing that people are really worried about, which is farts, right? I feel like
you're going to say in animals' welfare.
no,
Or the climate.
disgusting, dirty dog farts. A lot
Which
of these
does
other
contribute
companies-
to climate change, I guess.
Well, that's another angle.
Yeah.
All right. I haven't got my glasses, but I'll have a go. Fresh dog food is the solution to not knowing. Okay, you're all right, but you're all right. Sure. Blah, blah, blah. Fresh dog food is the solution to not knowing what's in the food you're feeding your furry best friend.
That
That's
is
a terribly
the
written
worst
sentence.
sentence ever written.
Real double negative situation. For years, kibble has ruled over mealtime. It's cheap, convenient, and simple. However, as people become more conscious of what they're feeding themselves, a growing number of people questioned what they're scooping into their dog's bowl. Where there was no natural options on the market, consumers decided to make their own dog food. Well, you understand me, double negative user. While vets applauded the efforts, they also saw a consistent lack in nutrients needed in the foods. Luckily, some vets and brands joined forces. Here we go.
There you go.
Fucking big vet and big brand getting in fucking bed together.
Kibble.
Yeah. It doesn't have the right nutrients in it. While vets applauded the efforts, blah, blah. Luckily, some vets and brands joined forces and came up with a solution. Develop balanced recipes, cook them using the best ingredients, and deliver them to your door. It's basically a Blue Apron for dogs.
God damn it. God damn it. Fuck, man. Like, I really thought we had something there. Like, I've been reading a lot of Eckhart Tolle at the moment. I'm trying to stay in the moment, but my mind did race ahead where I imagined us as like mega successful Silicon Valley type dudes working in an office with dogs.
Like the guys from Atlassian.
Yeah.
But like for dogs.
For dogs.
For Blue Apron for dogs. All right. Because those guys, I don't know what they do. Some computer things that's made them billions of dollars. But they look like, if someone said the reason they're rich is they invented Blue Apron for dogs, that would explain a lot more of how they look than how they actually look. All right. So, Blue Apron for dogs. But better.
Right?
as there's no home cooking.
Oh, well, that's
Well,
the
I don't know
whole
if that is better.
joy of it, isn't it?
I like the. I would say this. That
So, but what that's not that's like there's a million services right now which will deliver you gym meals. Like I can't think of the name of one of them, but that's what that is. There's
gym meals.
no, there's a popular one in Australia. I can't remember what it's called, but anyway, that's
Gym
what that
meals
is.
to you.
Healthy meals, healthy whole foods delivered cooked.
I mean, it's not a catchy name.
I don't think that's what it's called. Fit food.
Do you want to know what the names of these dog businesses are?
Are they all puns? Can I try and guess them?
So, yeah, okay. So the first one.
Give me a hint, and I'll try and guess the name. You can say it's a pun or it's a reference.
Okay,
or...
so the first bit of this, it's triple N, but all
Whoa! Don't say that.
triple N, but all the words are together.
Yeah.
The first word and the second word are both 3 letters, and they are the same word, and they are a slang term for eating.
Oh.
Like a modern day, like millennials.
Num, and the third one's an N.
No, well, nom nom.
Nom
but
nom.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
but you're right.
Nom,
And then the other one is also a 3-letter word starting with N-O.
nom, non. No, okay, it's a dog thing. Nom,
So, nom, nom.
Oh, is it a dog
Think
pun?
about delivering.
Nom, non. I'm having a
I
stroke.
can't even say it. It's nom
Nom,
nom.
nom. Nolo?
When do you want it?
Now.
Nom nom now.
Nom now.
Yeah,
Okay,
nom
cool.
nom now
That was
is one of
hard.
the businesses.
All right.
All right. So, nom nom now. This one is just a person's name or a name of a skateboarding trick.
An Ollie?
Yep.
Ollie's food?
I
or
guess
something?
so. Like Ollie's trolleys. Okay. This one has a dog related. Something that if my father, my father does have a dog. What would say? I've given you almost too close a clue there.
If your dad had a dog,
Yeah, it'd be
your grand-dog,
no. If my dad had a dog, it'd be
your brother, your brother, your
no. If my the farmer's dog.
Sorry. For some reason, I thought the dog was related to you. I thought it was your grandfather. Then I thought it was your brother.
If my dad had a dog, he's your brother. That's not how it works, Charlie.
I just realised I didn't grow up in a family of 9.
Really got
We're just listening.
cheated in the will. Got told the goldfish got 3 parts. They're your brothers, Charlie.
Okay.
All right, so this
The
one.
farmer's dog.
So both 2 words, both start with P.
Paw. Is one of them paw?
No,
Okay. Puppy.
no,
Pup. Is it dog related? One of the P words?
no.
Okay.
Although it's animal related.
Okay. Oh,
A more broad and generic term. Might not just be for dogs.
pooch.
Pet.
Pet. Oh, they don't all have to repeat? No.
It's not pet. Nom nom pet. No, it's pet.
Pet. What's it relate to, the second word?
Well, something maybe you would serve the food on.
Pet plate.
Pet plate.
That's a good one. That's the best one so far.
Okay. When you never like, oh, okay. So there was a popular Australian denim chain
Sure.
in the 80s.
Jeans West.
No, not that
JJ's?
one.
JJ's.
No. You knew, ironically,
Just
the name of the
Jane's?
shop. Yeah, Just Jane's
Okay,
is what I
got
was
it.
trying to go for.
Yeah.
So this one definitely has that spirit of how
Okay.
they've named
All right.
the business.
Okay.
Just Jeans. It's not
Okay.
bras and things.
Yeah.
It's just jeans.
So yeah, it's something to do with just good food, just wholesome ingredients.
you are in the right area. But even simpler, if I had this
Okay.
and you were like, "What is this?"
Yeah.
and I said this sentence, it would explain what it was.
just good stuff.
Just food for dogs.
That's the name of their business.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's just food for dogs.
Quickest meeting ever was the naming of the company.
What's the business about? Well, we're just going to make food for dogs. Should we just call it just food for dogs? Done.
Done.
Let's
Easy.
go to
Move
lunch. Okay, no, that one not even. Okay, well
That's
do.
it.
So I think that our
Wow.
advantage is, I think that there is some genuine value in the preparation. The preparation is even though the dogs don't appreciate it.
Do you have a lighter or an opener?
Maybe up there somewhere. Or there's in the drawer there's probably spoons if you want to use something. So I think the preparation is part of it. Yeah. We anthropomorphize our pets, and part of me preparing them food, like, we all know that the act of preparing someone food can be like, an act of love.
Yeah.
And, when you're making this food fresh for the dogs and then you serve it to them and they enjoy it, you get some pleasure out of your part in that experience that I don't get when I open up the, packet of liver and hearts, from the pet shop and whack it in the bowl.
Yeah.
Like, the dogs might enjoy it as much, but for me, the pleasure has been partly in the experience of creating it and making it. And so I think that what we do is bring in that step. These other companies have come in thinking...
So they're all pre-made, all those companies?
All pre-made.
Yeah, all right. So
That's
we're still
their
in. We're still in business.
We give people the ingredients,
Yeah.
and then you can put them together at home.
And if those guys have a business called Just Dog Food, we can definitely be Blue Apron for dogs.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously that's...
Yeah, we'll literally just call it Blue Apron for Dogs.
Yeah.
And finally, the sixth company, Blue Apron for Dogs.
I wonder how we'll get this off the ground. We have to, I imagine we'd have to actually start cooking in bulk. We'd have to get some dogs around. I could bring Junior around. We'd have to get a few friends with dogs, and we just have to start really small. We work out how much we can cook en masse, how much time it's going to take, what's the cost of the ingredients.
Well, I think we both know a lot of, influencers, people who are in the media and, comedians and, actors.
Oh, you want to fire festival it. So just get it out there before we've even got a business plan or a strategy.
I just say we make a very exciting video.
Just a bunch of dogs on a desert island just eating food and looking really happy. Oh, that'd be amazing.
Yeah,
you and I just swanning around just like
on jet skis.
cheesing, just toasting beers all the time. One stage I'm just passed out on the beach. Dogs are stepping over me.
Exactly. And then we're out on jet skis with the dogs.
Yeah.
And stuff.
And then when it all goes to shit, you
And a couple of
deny
Instagram
knowing me.
influencers.
You can just be like, actually, no, I can deny knowing you because you brought me into this. I'll be like, oh, we'll sound like a big. Look, I'm just as upset as the rest of you guys. I had no idea.
I don't know about that because I feel like in this situation, I'm Ja Rule and you're the other guy.
Why?
Because
you're the bullshitter. You're the one. Oh, no, I'm the bullshitter.
no, I came up with an idea and then you fucking covered it in bullshit.
Yeah, it's true. You're Ja Rule, and that's like not much better.
Not great. Yeah, I say we fire festival it.
Yeah,
That's the way to do it. That you get yourself a
Bunch of-
amazing show reel, make a bunch of ridiculous promises about what we can deliver, get ourselves a whole bunch of like Silicon Valley heat and startup money, and just get everyone to like invest a whole amount of money in it, and then we just take off.
yeah. Well, no, I think we intend to we just do it, but we do it with the level of commitment we show to the podcast, which is cancel 1 week, miss the recording time the next week.
Don't know what you're doing, but Will's got 19 rescue dogs in his house.
Can you imagine?
Finally found something to do with that spare room.
We could make it an offshoot. I think clearly podcasting itself isn't profitable. We do need some kind of associated business.
We need a scam. We need like a side scam that can enable us to keep doing the podcast as part of as what is seen to be an integral part of the side scam.
Was it a scam, or is it we just come up with great ideas, but we just need people to enact it for us? Because I think it could work, but we're just not capable of doing it.
Well, that's it. That's why.
Are there just like well-drilled corporate teams that can just come together, or do you have to take the time to assemble them? Can you just bring in a group of people to say, hey, we have this idea. We've got no idea how to make it happen, but we'll definitely talk it up, like Ja Rule and his mate. Billy. We're real good at that.
I believe that over the years, I mean, look, we've thrown out a lot of ideas. I believe that over the years, if you were someone who had an entrepreneurial spirit, there's at least been one good idea in the history of this podcast that someone who had that sort of business acumen, who had that idea of like being able to put
Adult prams. Everyone remember? We talked
Right.
about adult prams in the first year of the show, and then sure enough, that's a service that exists now.
Right. So there's got to have been those ideas that in the right hands, not us two idiots who just like spouted them out and moved on. Like there's certainly been ideas for, there's been, concepts that have been discussed on this show, about movies and ideas and stuff that have later seen themselves appear in the zeitgeist.
Yeah, we were
So-
going to have a party on an It's a Knockout style theme park once, weren't we?
Yeah.
I still want to do that. Like some kind of TOFOP live event, but it's a knockout.
I mean, that in itself is still a solid idea. I wonder if there is because they have all these places where that actually wouldn't be a bad idea for a movie. Like if you wanted to set a horror film somewhere, like
It's a knockout world.
well, you know how they set up all these for whatever that It's a Knockout style, the one that was in the
Rock.
water. What was it
Oh,
called?
Wipeout.
Wipeout, right?
And The Rock's
So-
doing something similar, like an American Ninja style.
So they all go to these places where they have these where they set up these sort of, and they all film them like the Ninja
generally
Warrior.
countries that don't have public liability
Right,
insurance.
yeah. And then people fly in from all over the world and they all film their episodes of it there so that you don't have to construct your own in different countries. There's got to be an abandoned one of those somewhere.
Oh, that's a great idea.
A horror movie set in
Yeah.
sort of like a shut down, left behind.
But is the killer attacking you with like sticks with giant foam ends and
I
stuff
mean,
like
I
that?
think if you found the right one, you could kind of combine the right amount of in the style of.
But so I love it. So the mask killer is stalking you, but you're jumping across rubber balls across a lake and you keep bouncing off and having to swim back to the start.
Well, for example, how about this as an idea? There was a show on American TV a few years ago where it was called, it was something about starting again. It was like starting a new society, and they found all these people and they were all going to start out and be in a new society together. They took them out into the middle of nowhere and they had it was called Utopia.
Okay.
I think it was actually called Utopia. I'm
Okay.
going to look it up. But it got cancelled. It was like this massive thing they'd spent all this money on and then no one really watched it. So what if you filmed one of those things, they sent out all those people out there to start this new world, and then it stopped rating, so they stopped filming it, but they realized it was too expensive
To pull down.
to actually bring people back though.
Oh.
So imagine they
They
shut
actually do
down,
start a society.
but because these people don't know, they're not interacting with, they're actually trying to start this new society. So they actually do start this
the
new
new
society,
society.
right? But then somebody starts killing people.
Yeah.
And no one's watching anymore, right?
Yeah.
But this really exciting thing is happening in this society, but no one's watching anymore. There you go. There's another idea.
There you go. That's a great idea.
There you go, Hollywood.
That's a Black Mirror episode.
Utopia, reality? Because there's an Australian television show called Utopia. All right. Utopia, a reality show. Here we go. Doesn't have a bad IMDb. A group of 15 Americans moved to an isolated, undeveloped location for 1 year. So they were meant to be there for 1 year, where they take on a challenge of creating their own civilization from scratch. The pioneers must draw on their own ideals and knowledge of societies around the world. So they got different people who had different ideas about what life was about in every facet of building up the infrastructure. Each individual must try to be indispensable to the group or risk being exiled back to their lives and replaced with potential newcomers who have been vying to take someone's place. In the end, the experiment reveals if people could make a better world if given a blank slate. It didn't, because it got cancelled really early.
That's a good idea. I'd have no idea about that, but that's
Yeah.
what it should be.
So they were meant to be there for a year.
Or maybe there's some kind of apocalyptic event and society gets cut off.
Oh, but they don't know.
They don't know, so they
Because
keep
they're
going.
not meant to be contacted anyway.
Yeah.
They're just meant to be filmed.
Yeah, and so they would be years until they realize, oh, hang on, we haven't had any they get past
Well, I don't
that
think it would
1
be
year mark.
years, but I reckon you could make a conceit that they were only going to check in every couple of months or whatever. You know,
and then
you'd
they
never
don't
see
know.
the cameras
Is
and
this
you'd-
part of the show? They
Yeah.
said they're going to come back in 3 months, but they haven't. They're going to bring supplies, but they haven't.
But this show was even set up so that they weren't really going to bring supplies or anything. So you could really... So, yeah, you're on this island. Some event happens in the rest of the world.
Plague or something.
And you're cut off and you're the last surviving people.
But you don't know. I mean, I think the interesting part is that there'd be an element of them performing because they know it's been filmed. But so the stuff that because they would be play acting in a way. Okay, we're starting again. They don't know they actually are starting again. So it'd be interesting. You could show the contrast between the identities they adopt when they think it's for show, but then when they find out that they're not genuinely...
There'd be people, John Locke style from Lost, who believed early on there'd be that sort of, those people going, I think something's happened, like, I don't feel like this is actually how it's meant to be going down. We have to be more serious about this. There's no one sort of coming. And they'd be like, no, this is like the show. This is this is what we're here for. This is like part of it. And you're ruining it. Like, you're being paranoid, blah, blah, blah. And you'd be able to, play with that idea of what happens when they actually start. And then if someone starts getting killed, then, because that's when on the island you start to go, hang on, is this still part of the show? They never mentioned there was going to be... It would be interesting too, because you could do like a juxtaposition. So the guy who, when he thought it was a TV show, is the alpha, heroic, blah, blah, blah. But when the shit's actually going down, he's not that at all. Yeah. So you get to really explore characters. This is a good show. Like what they... Google it. It's been made. Utopia, but if it was real. I might see if I can find any more information about Utopia, and then that way it might... There was a similar series like that I remember they did on... I think it was Discovery Channel, where it was like a group of people in a warehouse after an apocalyptic event. And it was the same thing, where it was like a group of different people with different backgrounds. And they would give them challenges where they had to kind of hook up electricity and send people out on scavenger hunts. And I think they must have filmed in some part of downtown LA or something, like an industrial area, because these people would leave their compound, but they couldn't get out and they'd have threats and stuff. But it was very interesting to see. There's one guy who was this older dude who was like an engineer or something. And basically without him, they wouldn't have had running water. They wouldn't have had electricity. Right. They wouldn't have had anything. And so you look at a guy like him and his value to the group. And then they had a guy who was like a philosopher who would be like, what is the moral quandary here of this much food and this many people? It's like, fuck off. Well, that's the thing, right? Eventually, when you're on a TV show, you can be very performative about what, the philosophical meanings of life. But if you have to fight for survival, like literally start to fight for survival, then... Yeah, it would be very... And it'd be awesome too, because you could almost have like a... You could actually do it as a series. It'd be a really cool series, because you need the time to develop the characters in one way first. And and you can treat, like if there's a diary room or something, they were told that if you need to go talk to the producers, they won't be able to contact you, but they'll hear you. So if there's any... Yeah. So it's almost like a God thing, where they go and they talk to, we need help, blah, 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 blah. And maybe some people in the group start putting all their faith in the diary room and quick copyright TOFOP. We shouldn't record this because this is a great idea. Utopia is a reality series. Okay, it was based on the Dutch version of the series. Okay, there you go. How long did the Dutch make the full season? I bet they did. Well, yeah, I guess so. Well, we can get to that if we'd like. Conrad Green was I don't know who that is. Originally scheduled for 2 nights a week, Tuesday and Friday. Okay. All right, here we go. I need to tell you. So it premiered on September the 7th, 2014. It was originally scheduled to be Tuesday and Friday. On October the 2nd, they announced it was pulled from Tuesday nights and around the air on Friday nights. And then on November the 2nd, the show was cancelled after promoting that it was going to be a year-long project. So, I mean, it's like, it's all kind of there. The show didn't air on Australian TV. That's the kind of thing Australian TV does. Yeah. You get aired one week and then axed the next. Over 5,000 people auditioned for the series. Every month they were meant to be, 3 were meant to be eliminated. So if you're a murderer, what a great way to murder people too, right? Like, for example, the 3 get eliminated, and then as they're walking down to wherever they think they're going to be evicted from the show. But hang on, if you're a murderer who signed up to this show thinking it's a show. You don't know about this apocalyptic event.
right? I assumed that when the murders start happening, it's only when you reveal that they're cut off. Because why would a murderer enter a TV show in which it's highly likely his murders would be documented?
No, that's a good point. Glad we had you in this meeting. All right. So this is who they took with them. I've got their occupations here. I won't read their names.
Great.
A chef,
Yep, need him.
a behavior specialist,
No, maybe not.
a real estate entrepreneur.
You are definitely getting eaten first.
a farmer,
Yep, need you.
a chili farmer.
Well, I like chili, so
I would have thought the general farmer could have covered
a
chilies
chili
as
farmer,
well.
the red hot chili peppers. Well, that's unusual, but I don't know. I guess album sales have been a bit slow.
A belly dancer,
She can stay.
a contractor.
What kind of contractor? That could mean anything. Building? Must be a builder.
Let's say. An unemployed person,
Well, yeah, I can identify.
a general contractor. And
I think one of the murderers is a contractor because that's a guy.
contract killer.
Yeah.
A contract killer. Sorry, that was definitely one of them. An entrepreneur, a holistic doctor,
You're gone, out, off the island.
and a construction worker.
That's a weird mix of people. So no kind of security, no police, no authoritarian figures of any kind. No army, no hunters.
No farmers. Maybe the farmers can. Maybe not the chili farmer, but the general
The chili
farmer.
farmer's a bit of a bit superfluous, right? I mean, unless you can farm other stuff. But if all you can farm is chilies, and it's like, well, mate.
Oh, hang on. There was some more here.
Oh.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Who's the alpha, physical?
So there was some who'd been eliminated already.
Oh, okay.
Who had been a chef, an
Another-
unemployed person, a pastor,
Gone.
a handyman.
You can stay.
Well, he couldn't, apparently. He got eliminated. An entrepreneur, political activist,
Oh, that's just what you need. Someone dragging out the old bloody soapbox.
an animal rescuer,
Well,
a vet.
yeah, you can stay.
Oh, sorry, a vet assistant. Well, still handy. An attorney, a lawyer. No, don't need you.
See you, mate.
And a security programmer.
Programmer. But there's no one who sounded physically, I would imagine in a society like that, you'd need security or who's the sheriff? I'll be the sheriff.
I mean, but that's part of it, isn't it? That somebody would be like, I'll be the sheriff.
Yeah.
And then, you see people, suddenly become authoritarian.
So they only did 2 episodes of the American series.
No, they did more than 2 episodes, but it
It didn't make it a year.
Well, it was meant to go a year, and I think it went a month and a half, and it got taken from 2 episodes a week to 1 episode a week after a month. or
Sounds
whatever.
extremely costly.
$50 million it cost to make.
Wow. Well, at least they've given us a great idea for a J.J. Abrams style puzzle box TV
Yeah,
series.
JJ, if you're listening. If there's anyone from Blue Apron who wants a side business, or if JJ Abrams.
Now, I need to let people know, a few people have been asking about the wrestling
Oh, yes. Good.
that I went to see. Lucha Fantastica, which was great, I've got to say. I'm not sure if I've talked about my theory about wrestling on this podcast, but I feel like it's having this hipster renaissance right now. You know how there's certain kind of activities which people enjoy ironically, but they also actually enjoy, 10-pin bowling or something, and it comes back with a rock and roll flavor.
Yeah.
I feel like when I was in the States last year, I noticed that there's a lot of these little indie wrestling shows happening, and they're happening in bars and stuff, and the vibe of it was, hey, come down, have some beers, watch some wrestling and stuff. And so I was like, I think there's something going on here. So I can confirm that's what's going on. Hipsters have embraced professional wrestling. And this is a good thing because there's some stuff about professional wrestling that was always unacknowledged that they are embracing, which the main thing being the ridiculousness, the comedy element. So this event was in Marrickville. And I've got
Bloody full of hipsters.
full of
Bloody
mate.
Marrickville.
Well, this is the thing. I live behind the quinoa curtain, and I very rarely leave my neighbourhood. And then I always complain about Sydney's nightlife and there's no culture or whatever. And it's oh no, it is. It's just too far from my comfortable surrounds for me to venture to, because the audience was all hipsters, and the 90s were back in a big way. Like I felt like I was having flashbacks. Like all the girls were dressed like Winona Ryder and Reality Bites, and there was like the grunge look was back. And
How many people in the audience?
I'm going to say felt like 300-400.
Okay, good crowd.
Good crowd. Yeah. So it was at the Factory Theatre.
Oh, yeah. Good venue.
Yeah, good venue. And so very diverse crowd. Like it felt like it was people from every quadrant of society were represented, and a really great vibe because everyone's like drinking beer and tequila, and you could get right up to the ring, which is good as well. Because that was my real interest, is like I've been watching a lot of wrestling on TV, but I've never seen it live. And I just wanted to see what it's like when you see a dude like fly off the top rope and hit that mat. Got to say, it looks terrifying. Like those rings do not look soft at all. Like very hard. So before
I thought just for a second you were going to say, and I've got to say, it looks terrible. Terrible. That is something you definitely want to look at from a distance. You do not want to be right up against the ring.
So people came in and they're playing because the idea behind it is it's luchador wrestling, which is a specific kind of acrobatic wrestling where they all wear masks. So I feel like the MC was Mexican, and there's probably some Mexicans working on the show, but it was probably just like the best, wrestlers in Australia, and they'd put on a luchador mask and blah, 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 blah. So before the show started, they were running about half an hour late. Everyone had crowded around the ring, and people were throwing like beach balls, and you could see they were getting that kind of rowdy wrestling. Everyone's sort of getting into it, getting ready to cheer and boo. And I see this dude standing to the side, and I see him sort of like, you see someone before a show, before they go on stage, they're kind of like, and I'm like, Jem, look at this dude. I reckon he's a wrestler. Like, I feel like he's going to run in at some stage. And she looked around, and he's kind of big as well. And she's like, yeah, yeah. And then this girl, drunk girl, chasing a beach ball, jumped into the ring and grabbed the beach ball. And this fucking dude exploded, like pushed people at like beer cans went flying and like slid into the ring. He was security. He wasn't a wrestler. But then he ran up to this girl, but then realized couldn't really do anything. So like he flew in like Superman, knocking things over, pushing people aside, got in the ring, but then just stood in front of it. Like couldn't actually do anything at all. And the girl was like, oh, okay, I'll get out. And so it was this really amazing sort of like super macho
Also,
entrance for the most.
At the wrestling, it is, I mean, well, I guess they've got masks on, but ordinarily it's hard to tell the security from the wrestling. You'd be like, is this a bit? Well, it must be one of those things at wrestling events over the years, shit has gone down, and the reason it's gone down was no one understood that it wasn't a bit.
Yeah. I mean, how would you tell? People fighting in a ring.
No, that guy actually just hit me with a chair. It really hurt.
So one thing I'll say about this show is what they did really well, which I haven't really thought about, is they leaned in hard to the comedy of wrestling, like just the basic silliness of it. So there's a couple of like early card rounds, a female match, there's a guy match, and then they had they'd bring each person would get their own entrance music and do the walk down with the big video screen playing their highlights. So there was a character called, and I think it was like Padre so-and-so, who was a heel. So Padre so-and-so comes out, and his valet is an altar boy. And so people are booing the Padre, and the altar boy's holding up a crucifix at the crowd as he walked past. And the Padre, he's got the luchador mask on, but the big like Cardinals hat on as well. And so there's a lot of physical comedy with him and the altar boy. You can imagine like helping the altar boy holding the ropes open, him sliding past him and stuff. So the wrestling itself was actually pretty good. But these fucking dudes, what you realize about it when you see it live is like, it's really just about, there is an athleticism to it, but it's really about just like taking hits. Like, because they actually genuinely like slap each other. They land on their heads. They land on their backs. So you see them do these moves, and it's just like, oh, I'm just basically watching it's like when your mate says, watch me do this backflip. And Party's like, all right. Like, let's see what happens. So that match happened. Then there's another couple matches. And then the sort of the title card match of the night, what do you call it? The main card was this tag team. And the lead guy's gimmick, his name is Concrete Davidson. And so his gimmick is he's an old style strongman. So he's got like the single strap like leopard print leotard. And so he comes out and they're wrestling these two guys. Him and his tag team partner is a guy called Cupido, who's like he's a Cupid. That's his gimmick.
How did he hook up with old Concrete?
I have no idea. You don't get, it's not like the WWE where you get an awesome backstory. No.
It's like,
they're just put together.
I mean, they're an unlikely couple, that's all.
Well, they looked like a pairing. So they weren't like a dedicated tag team because the guys they were fighting who were much more like muscle bound, traditional, looking wrestlers they looked like a dedicated tag team where Concrete and this guy, were like, one was tall and skinny and the other one's kind of short and fat. Anyway, the match starts with Concrete and the guy and his opponent locking up. You know how they lock up at the start of a match? And so they're sort of like seesawing and they're getting the crowd like, into it, and you sort of like cheering, but they lock up and they don't really do anything. And then they lock up and they sort of shuffle towards the edge of the ring and they're still locked up. And then they get out of the ring and they're still locked up. And then they lock up and they just keep backing by the change rooms. And so then they slowly just back locked up all the way to the change rooms. And then that's it. So the other two guys are, all right, I guess we're fighting. So they get in the ring. So they start fighting for a bit. And then in the background, you see Concrete and the other guy come back out and they're still locked up and they're still locked up. And they're still, it was like a great, like Monty Python style bit. So they come back into the ring and it's not until they get back into the ring that you realize they're now wearing each other's outfits. So they get broken up. There's a bit more wrestling. Then they get back in, they lock up again. And then they lock up and they lock up. They lock up and they drift out back to the ring. And then they come back and they've got to change their outfits again. But the best bit, the most subversive bit.
Oh, man, that's funny.
Was, so Cupido pulls out his bow and arrow and he shoots both of the two opponents. And so when you get shot the arrow, you start like staggering around the ring because now you're filled with an aphrodisiac and the first person you lock eyes with, you're going to fall in love with. So the tag team partners are both been hit by the arrow. They look around and they see each other and they rush in the middle of the ring and they start making out in the middle of the ring, like full, like tongue pashing, making out in the middle of the ring. It was fucking awesome. That was like the showstopper. The showstopper was a vampire and a werewolf fought each other, which was amazing. And then, they had a mariachi band at the end, which was not a band, but a single mariachi guy playing like rock and roll covers in a mariachi style with an effects pedal.
I mean, it sounds pretty good.
It was awesome.
It sounds pretty fun.
Yeah. Oh, the MC too had a dude called Chico, who was a masked wrestler, like a big chubby guy. And this bit actually was not so great. It made us feel kind of sick. He would pour tequila out into the crowd. He'd put your hand up, he'd give you a shot of tequila. But then he would lie on his back in the ring and he'd put tequila in his belly button and people would go in and suck the tequila out of his belly button. And your reaction right now, just a little bit gross.
That's just a bit gross. We should start to wrap this up because
we've got time for a...
Yeah, we've got time for a letter, but that's why I'm...
Well, we have to have at least 2 letters otherwise.
Exactly, we can have 2 letters, but we're going to see the popular American MC.
Well, I believe this is our anniversary because we did this before we did TOFOP like 2011. We saw him in, I think it was 2011. We went to see him together and we'd done a TOFOP just beforehand.
So, yes, and I want to go and see the Hilltop Hoods who were on beforehand, so...
Yeah, well, it's like Friday Night Footy.
Yeah, in your hoodie. I was messaging about that because we messaged. I said the Hilltop Hoods are on at 7:30, and you were like, "It's a swan," and I messaged you back going, "That song's like 20 years old now." And what I love is I still do enjoy Friday Night Footy in my hoodie, and so that song has spoken to me for 20 years.
Some lyrics are timeless.
Some song lyrics they date really quickly, but you know what? On Friday night, I literally watched the footy in my hoodie. It was AFLX. It was a different game to what it was 20 years ago, but it was Friday Night Footy in my hoodie.
Tim writes in, "Hey, Wil and Charlie." Excuse me. Sorry, I just burped. "I saw Charlie's video on Facebook and have to say that sign-off was terrible. Like really bad.
What did you do?
Might even be worse than the SD card badge idea. Awful."
What happened?
Can't remember. I think I did I can't remember what I did. I made a video when we missed an episode for people, and I showed them what the sticker books were. But look, obviously Tim wasn't a fan.
Jeez, Tim.
I can't remember what I did.
I mean, has Tim included his address? Because if he has, he's very optimistic because he started with a pretty big insult.
Anyway, you know who's a real cunt? Wil.
Oh, all right. He doesn't win.
No, he didn't say that. Anyway, when I saw Guest Charlie #1 was on the sticker pack, book, sheet, whatever, I knew I must have it. I think I got into TOFOP the year before Superpod. But when I found walking the room through you guys, I fell in love. FOFOP was good bad for me because I got a lot of Dave, but not a lot of Greg. I know a lot of Greg can be too much, but I don't mind. Also, I need to tell you that it is my personal opinion that you, Charlie, should be known as Zeroth Charlie, which is by definition the greatest of all Charlies. Charlie #1, Zeroth.
Okay, sure.
Okay. Now give me that sticker sheet.
this letter has been all over the shop so far.
Fair to say you're not a fan. Let's move on to another one. And just to remind you, if you'd like to be in the running to win a sticker pack, you can
I
subscribe
feel
to...
like that guy had read the game and felt like he was negging you at the start and then came home with a compliment and used an unusual word. It all felt a little too...
Forced?
Yeah, it felt a little forced to me, but he was wearing a fedora the whole time.
He's a third-year philosophy major. Chris, you're going to love the opening of this one. Oi, TOFOP.
Oh.
You like strong starts?
Wow.
No. Not really a fan.
Oh, no.
But I know that the money we chip in... Not really a fan, but I know that the more money we chip in the more ways you'll come up with to bankrupt yourselves.
Oh.
Which is the best way I know to hold off the robot uprising. I think Tim and Chris are the same person. Feels like the same terrible use of language.
Also, just like people who've like taken the time to write to us to tell us that they hate us.
My wife and I recently moved to a small country town. The locals always put a 2 at the end of locations questions. Where's Charlie's to? Where's Charlie to? Where's my folders to? Have you ever heard of that before?
No.
This has given me the shits up until now. TOFOP, where's Taboo to? And he brings it home strong. Look, Tim, you tried to do the same thing. Open with an insult, but finish so strongly we can't be mad at you. So that's a little callback there, Chris. That was fantastic. Where's Taboo to? Brilliant.
And where's Tattoo too? I found out the other day that Tattoo weren't lesbians. Did you know that?
Yeah, that was quite
Did you
well known
always
at
know
the time.
that Tattoo weren't lesbians?
Yes, that they were money
Lipstick
lesbians.
lesbians.
Well, not lipstick. They were money. They were lesbians for pay.
Okay.
Gay for pay.
Gay for pay.
Yeah.
Tattoo. If
Why
you don't believe in
has that
Tattoo-
come up?
I don't know. Somebody
You were
referenced
thinking
it.
about, but when did your realization that they weren't lesbians come up?
The other day when I read a tweet that pointed out that Tattoo weren't lesbians. And I was like,
is it tattoo? Isn't it tattoo?
Oh, I thought that was
Tattoo.
Tattoo.
Maybe.
I don't know.
We got time for one more, or does Chris win?
No, I feel like, all due respect to Chris and Tim, that I'd love one that didn't start with an insult. If possible.
Okay. Right. This is from a previous winner, Anthony Marangelli. Hey, Charlie and Will. Just a quick note. I listened to TOFOP 232, Willness, which was out 2 weeks ago for you guys listening to this. My winning sticker pack is not numbered, but do not worry. I'm trying to negotiate with my dad to see if I can get the stickers on a piece of Russell Crowe memorabilia he was given from Cinderella Man. Is that true? That'd be amazing. On the Tone Loc songs you
Some
spoke...
good, I was going to say some good Russell Crowe content coming up, but it will have been last week.
Last week, yeah.
But a good Russell Crowe. If you haven't listened to last week's episode,
That's some good Russell
it's
Crowe
good
stuff.
Russell Crowe content.
On the Tone Loc songs you spoke about on the podcast, this is a quote from the LA Times in 1989. Quote, producers and Delicious Vinyl owners Matt Dyke and Michael Ross came to me with a title and an instrumental track and said, write a song called Wild Thing. I'm not lying. I wrote it in 35 minutes.
That does not surprise me.
Funky
Story checks out.
Funky Cold Medina took
13 minutes.
me a little over an hour.
I had a nap. I had a 20-minute power nap in the middle.
That is Young MC, who wrote 2 songs for Tone Loc and then later went on to have his own hit with Bust a Move. You can hit me up anytime if you ever need any background info for hip-hop content. All right, good. Maybe after we see Eminem tonight, we'll have some questions for you. Also, I went to an awesome vegan restaurant on Saturday after Will's slightly more progressed show at the Comedy Store. Oh, so it is in Sydney. It's called Paperbark in Waterloo. Do you know this one?
I haven't been there, no.
I'm neither vegan nor vegetarian, but would thoroughly recommend. Would probably never have tried it without hearing Will talk about food choices over the years. I'm off to watch Lessons for Life. Anthony, I feel like we should give you a second sticker pack, but I'm not
Yeah.
sure. Is that in the rules?
I liked how Anthony was like really complimentary.
Yeah,
He's been to my show.
and plugged our shows.
He said, like, I've learned something from the podcast and I've taken it in my life. Here's a story about how it made my life better. I'm going to go and watch Charlie's web series.
We can't give him another one. We'll give one more.
But I'm glad he came to the show.
So Jane basically has to stuff up real bad to lose to Tim and who's the other guy? Well, Tim.
Tim and Jeff, Gary, Chris.
Okay. All right, Jane. The sticker pack is yours for taking. Just don't insult us in the first sentence. Hey, Will and Charlie, I have a confession to make.
Oh no! I murdered someone.
I should read
I was on a reality show and I murdered several of the other people.
Okay,
on
now
it.
I've read ahead. It's okay.
Okay.
Whilst I love philosophy and I've listened to every episode, some multiple times, it is.
I hate TOFOP.
It is.
I also hate TOFOP. TOFOP is stupid.
It is also a podcast I go to if I cannot sleep. This is not a reflection of the content, Will, but I believe the tone of the podcast, which I find relaxing, similar to a good book, maybe. Hashtag Will Rested. Brilliant.
Yeah, I got a lot of good. Reed Parker did a little Sleeping Wills
Yeah, I saw that.
poster for me, but there were a lot of good suggestions from people. NyQuil?
Yeah, that was
one.
good. Yeah. In reference to a 10-degree theatre IoT to keep your patrons awake, I believe that I would actually walk out if not forewarned about the chilling venue. And this is coming from a real fangirl. I already wear jeans and jumpers to the movies, and I live in Townsville. Charlie, I can certainly empathise with your aching and creaking structure, which really worries me as I've only been in the army for 2 years. I'm still in my 20s and I creak in every direction. Love all 3-4 podcasts and have been introduced to a few of your friends since I began listening 6 months ago. Thanks for the distractions, Jane. P.S. Just in case you feel kind enough to send me a one-off sticker book, my address is below. I trust you will not read it out. It is Jace. No. That has to fucking win.
Of course
I
it
mean, it
will.
was so filled with
It's a
compliments.
mile.
Basically, if you want to win a sticker back, just like kiss our ass.
Or don't start with an insult.
Yeah. But that is a case of dudes being like,
This'll be
they
fun.
insult each other.
This'll
Watch
be
this.
fun. Look
Hey,
at this.
fuckos.
Hey, I hate your podcast and you and your stupid face and your smell.
But here's a reference to say that we're mates. He gets it. He gets it. It's
gets
all
it,
right.
he gets
It's
it.
kind of like the guy that uncle at the party who's like racist to a friend
Yeah.
of yours. He's like, he knows I'm
He
joking.
loves
He
it.
knows I'm joking.
He loves it.
Look, he's laughing.
Look, he's
He's
laughing.
laughing.
Nervously.
All right, if you want to support the show, go to patreon.com/TOFOP. You'll find lots of bonus content there. But Patreon is the number one way we pay for this show because we do have employees. We do have contractors, legit contractors who work on this show. Check out the series Lessons for Life and other videos on YouTube. That's TV, TOFOP TV on YouTube. We're going to put more stuff up there soon, so check that out as well. Will, you have...
Will Informed, which is my new show. Hobart sold out, but Melbourne International Comedy Festival. Look, I'm in a blind panic, as I said to you off air before, but that's, just what it is. And hopefully it'll be great. It's the first time that I brought a really brand new, spanking new show to Melbourne. So, come out and see it, and hopefully it's going to be good.
It will be.
Well, I hope it will be, but at the moment,
If it's not, we've got a fucking great idea for a TV show and a dog delivery, cook yourself business.
Well, the thing is, I know it will be good. I just wish it was better already.
Yeah.
Because I know that I will do whatever work it takes to make it good. Like, that's what I know about myself. It's not like I'm going to, if it's not working on the first night, I'll work, every minute to get it working for the second. I know that I will do that. But I would just wish it was working now so that I didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
So I can relax.
So it's not like you're process oriented, you're outcome oriented. I'm Charlie Clausen.
Will Anderson.
This podcast is part of the Planet Broadcasting Network.
Visit planetbroadcasting.com for more podcasts from our great mates. I mean, if you want. It's up to you.